gone full on banana republic. No other way to describe this right about now, guys. We are a banana republic in the middle of some kind of coup. This is a coup. And you know what? They've been successful at it. That's the tricky thing. Well, they wouldn't be totally successful unless they actually get Kamala elected. But look what's going down right before your eyes. Stephen Miller's all over this. Remember, he was the policy advisor to Trump, and he has a team right now that has been sort of getting out in front of some of the legal issues because there's a lot of constitutional issues that have been at stake. And he's been all over this. I want you to hear him here just a short time ago with Laura Ingraham talking about what a mess they've gotten us into and how he doesn't even think that they can do this. I mean, really, how can they do this? People already voted, shall we say, for Joe Biden. I mean, like it or not, right? They voted for him. And now you're going to effectively render that all totally mute because you realize there's no chance in HELL this guy's ever going to get elected. So that's your strategy to once again undermine the democracy or the Republic of America. Let's listen to Stephen Miller.
I want to repeat what we just said, but Chad just said, you know, we didn't have Pelosi, Jeffries, Obama. Isn't it the case that they know her very well? They know Kamala Harris. I'm not sure if they like her or not. I have no idea. But they know that she is not a slam dunk.
Well, I think Kevin, the former speaker, laid it out so well. She has never in her life run a compelling campaign. She's been the beneficiary of a great deal of luck and good fortune. But if you look at her presidential campaign, she flamed out, and she flamed out hard. I think one of the most important factors, which Obama obviously knows, is that she would be the most liberal head of a Democrat ticket in American history. Left of Carter, left of McGovern, she would be the leftmost candidate ever to lead the Democrat Party. Think about how that's going to turn off working class voters all over the country, not to mention her record as border czar. So they're truly trapped because she has none of Biden's attractive qualities to the working class, which is why they chose him in 2020, all of the baggage of the administration, and she's really napalm, in fact, for working class voters. But if they ditch her, they lose all of the money they've raised, and they go into a totally chaotic convention. So this really is a Democrat Party in crisis.
Well, they're pretending it's all exciting, right? They're saying, this is exciting. No, it's chaos. You literally subverted your own democratic process as you spent the last 3.5 years, more, let's say 6 years, or let's say 9 years, trashing Donald Trump for doing literally what you just did to your own voters. There may be, 25, 30% of the voters who still preferred Joe Biden to remain at the top of the ticket, right? I mean, at least that.
Well,
and they don't care about those voters, Stephen. They don't care.
They held a primary. People, they had ballots. They filled out circles. They went to the voting booths. They spent money on advertisements. And as President Trump said, the Republican Party spent tens of millions of dollars running against Joe Biden. Now they just woke up one morning and said, never mind, we're canceling the entire primary. We're getting rid of our candidate, and we're pretending the election has never even happened, and we're going to let donors handpick a new nominee. They're publicly admitting that they are an oligarchy. They are not running a democracy. They are not running a representative republic. This is an oligarchy controlled by business interests. And the Democratic Convention is the private corporation that represents those business interests. This is as full frontal an attack on American democracy as we've ever seen in the history of America's major political parties.
Really, really well said. I mean, I was watching this in real time just yesterday and just blown away. When you think of everything that they've done, whether we go back to the 51X spooks, led by the former deputy secretary of, the actual secretary of state, who then pulled in the deputy director of the CIA to get 51 of these guys and gals to sign off on, oh, it's not real, that Hunter Biden laptop. Nope, just Russian disinformation. And then they got mad at us. Remember the whole cheap fakes thing? The Washington Post came up with that, and like KJP wrote it all the way to the bank. Somehow I was showing you a cheap fake when I showed you all the video and we played it in its entirety, of Joe Biden trying to figure out whether or not he should sit down during the commemoration of D-Day, or when he started wandering off to look at the parachuter instead of actually taking the picture, and then all the moments when he would just sort of zone out. I mean, there were a lot of signs there. And by the way, you can go back a couple of years and you're going to see these signs. It's the reason why we here on this show have said the Democrats are awfully stupid if they choose to run him again. But maybe there's a method to the madness, shall we say. Maybe they knew that they could never get a Kamala Harris in there. I mean, think about it. Why the heck was she ever chosen as VP? Remember what she did to him on that stage where she humiliated him and said, you were really kind of a racist guy because I was one of those little girls that you didn't want to have integrated in the public school system. Remember that, guys? She actually tanked immediately after saying it, but she went there. She went for the jugular. She went there. In the debate in 2020, Jill Biden, Dr. Jill, who, is neither here nor there, but has a whole other conversation. Very Shakespearean in some ways. Dr. Jill couldn't stand Kamala Harris. Joe Biden really didn't like her. And yet somehow she wound up as the VP pick. Why would you pick her? She doesn't buy you anything, except she's super woke and she's super left. No, she can't win elections. So how else do you get a woke black female? Technically, she's also Asian, right? Like she really works one side of the aisle and not the other. Wow. How do you get her in if you're Barack Obama? Unless you pull something like this. I mean, why would they have allowed him to do the debate? Think about it. If you knew him, if you were around him, any reporter, I would have said, Joe Biden, don't do this debate. And certainly don't give rules like, this, where he has to talk for 2 minutes straight. That was actually Trump's advantage because Trump couldn't interrupt him. And we were all worried thinking, oh no, they're going to cut off Trump in the middle of him saying something really important because, he has a lot to say. It's kind of hard to get it down to 2 minutes. But poor Joe has nothing to say and only has about 10 seconds of thought. And then it just dies out, or we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say he can go for 1:30, but he's not going the full 2 minutes. And so by allowing no ability to interrupt, whether it be from the anchor or whether it be from Donald Trump, then there was no ability to save him. Somebody knew that. They took him aside. They were prepping him for 7 days. And now this? Can you explain this to me? And now they're coming out of the woodwork. For Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, just the very latest, ladies and gentlemen. Gavin Newsom says he won't run against her. I told you 2.5 years ago, I would not be surprised to see a Kamala Gavin ticket. I kind of have an instinct for these things, do I not? just saying. Well, here's a woman on CNN, somebody who specializes, she's a consultant who specializes in this electoral stuff. And here's her take on it. It'll give you the spooks. Trust me. Spooks me.
I'm asking you this first question facetiously. What does it say in the Constitution about how parties pick their nominees?
Nothing.
And that's important, isn't it?
Very important.
Why?
Because the process of choosing a nominee has always been, from the beginning of the Republic, it's been a party process, not a constitutional process, not governed by state law. In fact, a lot of times when people take the process to court, the state law loses and the party wins. So this is a party process. It's pretty old. It's over 200 years old. The first the first party convention was 1831. So it's been around a long time.
And the primaries, insofar as we've had them over the last several generations, are about picking delegates who go to the convention to pick a nominee. The primaries, they pick Joe Biden overwhelmingly. I think like 99% of the delegates are going to vote for Joe Biden. What happens to his delegates now? Because he has endorsed the vice president, does that mean they all have to vote for her?
No. In fact, the delegates are now formally uncommitted, okay? They can do whatever they want to. Now, you got to think about this for a minute. She's his vice president. She has been all around the country with him doing political stops, etc. So the fact of the matter is that when Joe Biden says it's Kamala Harris, I'd say most of those people are going to vote for her. And remember what vice presidents do. They do a lot of political work for their president. So I would guess that of that 4,000 plus group of people, a big percentage of them have actually met and shake hands with Kamala Harris. So she's got a lot going for her in this race.
So just a few minutes ago on Casey Hunt's show, West Virginia Senator, independent senator, but we'll leave that aside for a second, Joe Manchin said he is pursuing the process. Now, to be fair to Joe Manchin, it wasn't exactly clear what process he said he was pursuing, but let's say he wants to get in this. How does someone else get their name and nomination at the convention?
Okay. Well, first of all, they've got to concentrate on these 4,000 plus people. Okay, those are the deciders right now. There's nobody else making this decision. Not Obama, not President Clinton. It's the delegates. So he has to start calling delegates, calling into state delegations. By the way, there's state delegation meetings going on all over the country. One is in Maryland today. There was one in New Hampshire yesterday. He has to call those delegates and say, I'm better equipped to challenge Donald Trump than is Kamala Harris. That's a hard job to do, and I think, frankly, given his role in the party, I'm not sure he's going to find a very receptive audience.
You have to get signatures from, 300 delegates, and delegates can't sign more than one petition to begin with to even get your name and nomination.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a process even to get there. 3,900 regular delegates. Then there are the super delegates who people may remember from 2008, the Barack Obama-Hillary Clinton race. These are elected officials. What can they do here?
Well, I think a lot of them will attempt to lead the delegates in their congressional districts. Remember, most delegates are elected by congressional district. They're political people. They're going to pay a lot of attention to their congressman. They'll pay a lot of attention to their senator. But we are well past the days of party bosses. Okay, there's very few people who can deliver a state or deliver, a big city or something. So a lot of this is going to have to be the delegates looking at whatever other candidates get in and saying, I'm for Kamala or I'm for this person.
Very last question. What are the chances you think anyone's name, else's name, besides Vice President Harris, is actually even placed in the nomination at the convention?
I think it's very, very small. I think we have run out of time here. One of the reasons the party is coalescing so quickly behind Kamala Harris is, frankly, we have no time.
It'll be very interesting.
Look at what they did. Look at what they pulled. I mean, they're doing exactly what they're accusing Donald Trump of doing. They're just doing it in a more clever way that they assume is legal. Kamala has no right to take all those electoral votes. I mean, the delegates, they've been pledged to Joe Biden. People voted. The delegates are supposed to reflect the will of the people. And instead, you get Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn together with some other smarty pants, billionaires, George Soros, his son, all of them. And they're like, okay, we can't win. But I think they knew they couldn't win. Let's be honest, right? Like, why didn't they do this way earlier? Why didn't they set Kamala up to run? Why? Because, they didn't want the opposition research, ladies and gentlemen. They really didn't. We're going to get to the opposition research. You're going to see why they don't want the opposition research. But in the meantime, you've got all the billionaires saying, yep, check that box. I mean, they turned off the money spigot. They refused to donate a dime. And now the headline in the Financial Times is all about how much money she's raising. Nearly $50 million on the day that she announced. I wonder why. And now the smart money is going to follow, right? Alex, George, everybody else, Reid, they're all going to fall in line. She's got the endorsement of the Clintons. She's got the endorsement of Nancy Pelosi. We know she's got Obama's endorsement, right? He's holding out because he doesn't want it to look like he orchestrated this entire thing. But you know what? We weren't born yesterday. They keep trying to pull the wool over our eyes. And it's like, guys, come on. We're smarter than you think, okay? You are smarter than them. And they keep assuming that you're some kind of dumb American who doesn't know their from their you-know-what. Okay, well, Trump's not having it. Take a look at him. He's on the attack right now, coming out with all kinds of tweets. Moments after the news was announced, he wrote, crooked Joe Biden, not fit to run for president, and is certainly not fit to serve, never was. He only attained the position by president by lies, fake news, and not leaving his basement. That's true. All those around him, including his doctor and the media, knew that he wasn't capable of being president, and he wasn't. And now look what he's done to our country with millions of people coming across our border. That was, by the way, Kamala's domain, the border. totally unchecked and unvetted, many from prisons, mental institutions, and record numbers of terrorists. We will suffer greatly because of his presidency, but we will remedy the damage he has done very quickly, make America great again. And then he followed up with a couple of doozies. Here we go. Watch this. He actually makes some huge allegations here, saying it's not over tomorrow. Crooked Joe Biden's going to wake up and forget that he dropped out of the race today. Ha 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 ha. Okay. And then he writes, who is running our country right now? It's not Crooked Joe. He has no idea where he is. If he can't run for office, he can't run our country. So this is a big concern too. And a growing number of Republicans are understandably calling on Joe Biden to step down altogether, because you know what? How can you, ladies and gentlemen, be running the country if you're not well? And you get your vice president out there campaigning. She was out there campaigning today. Do we have the clip of her, Drew? Oh, this is her first big speech. And she's working it. She's trying to pretend that like she actually had 3.5 years of success. I mean, it's really kind of wild. So she also did the NAACP, because she's going to lean into that pretty darn hard. But anyway, I think we have her first statements since being named the successor, so to speak, to Joe Biden. Here she is touting their record. And I'm like, I mean, it's like we're living in an alternative universe, shall we say? Kamala, take it away.
Our president, Joe Biden, wanted to be here today. He is feeling much better and recovering fast, and he looks forward to getting back on the road. And I wanted to say a few words about our president. Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap.
You ready for that? I'm not ready for that. We got some more doozies for you, because she's going to have a lot to overcome. The Trump campaign was ready for this, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely positively ready for this. In fact, he was talking about this just recently. Gosh, before he was shot at on the golf course, he predicted Joe was out and Kamala would take over. Take a look at him here in this leaked video.
What did I do with the debate the other night?
Oh, fantastic.
He kicked that old broken down pile of crap.
Yeah.
It's a bad guy. He just quit, He's quitting the race.
Is that right?
Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic.
It's so amazing.
It's just so bad. So
I just can't imagine.
But can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man. A very tough guy. And they see him, they probably, he can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting.
Good.
Very good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Ooh, okay. So he was right. He predicted this. And they were ready. They were ready. The Trump campaign already out with a brand new attack ad, because they knew this was coming. Look, NBC News reporting that they had been working on this for weeks. I would argue, you know what? They'd been working out much longer than weeks. Because what have I said here on this show? As soon as somebody figures out that they're actually running against Kamala and not Joe, that's like manna from heaven. That's like better than running against Hillary, right? So they've been all about this. I mean, I kept waiting for them to make this turn. You can only hit Biden so much. And at some point, somebody was going to wake up and realize, hey, wait a second. This is not a vote for Biden. It's a vote for Kamala. Well, now it's officially a vote for Kamala. And the Trump campaign is ready. Take a look at the ad.
Kamala was in on it. She covered up Joe's obvious mental decline.
Our president is in good shape, in good health, tireless, vibrant, and I have no doubt about the strength of the work that we have done.
But Kamala knew Joe couldn't do the job, so she did it. Look what she got done. A border invasion, runaway inflation, the American dream dead. They created this mess. Kamala owns this failed record.
Mm-hmm. In other words, what chance does this woman really have when you think about it? Because Joe's record is her record, except she's even worse, okay? Because we got the whole border disaster. It's entirely on her shoulders. So the Trump campaign's ready. They're ready to fight, as they always are, and they get all the ammunition in the world. Think about what a train wreck Kamala Harris has been and is. And a lot of people are scratching their heads saying, how the heck did she ever get here? I mean, already all over the internet, you see the old clips of Kamala Harris back in the days when she was dating Montel Williams. Watch.
Back then, he was the famous one and had to introduce her to the paparazzi. Now.
Okay. And they're saying, look, she wasn't even the date. She had to be one of multiple dates. Yikes. And then there was the whole Willie Brown thing. You know, he kind of gave her a hand with her start, got her a few gigs, a few jobs, positions, which result, that was actually her boyfriend, I guess. He was married at the time, but that never stopped him. I was an anchor in San Francisco way back when, and used to host a morning show there. And I'll never forget reading the prompter. And they had written in the screen, by the way, subscribe to the show. This is why I love not having a prompter. I don't have to read what anybody else is writing. It's just me and you. Anyway, they had written, "Da mayor is da daddy." And I'm like, I'm not saying that. Why are we praising him? Seriously. He's got all his girlfriends. He has a baby with one of the girlfriends. He's still married. I'm sorry. This is not okay. Not where I come from. Sorry. Anyway, Kamala Harris was one of those girlfriends. Never wound up having a kid with him, but she did get a couple of gigs. And then later he was investigated by the FBI because he was handing out favors to certain people. Somehow she skated through that. She went on to become the senator from California. That was the campaign that he helped her with. I mean, really sort of strange past. And she's just come up from sort of nothing, never really winning much of anything. You saw how badly she performed back in 2020, and now she's going to be the next president when she wasn't actually officially chosen by the delegates. I think that's kind of problematic.